Hello everyone, Saul here, and welcome back to another episode of Often Haunted. This is my little ghost storytelling series where I get to perform some of these stories that I have written with the many illustrations and paintings that I've done. I've done about over 300 pieces, and some of them I film the time lapse as I'm creating the drawing or the painting. Others I'm not able to. It's a lot to do all of these. But I also thought, why not make a series where for the ones I don't have the time lapse, I just perform the story, because sometimes the art transcends the story, sometimes the story does. And in this case, this started out as a simple sketch. I wanted to make a fairy, and I had a personal deadline of doing it within a night, and I wanted to play with my love of just drawing for the sake of it. Don't always want to think of composition or something final, so I just started drawing a fairy, and that's how it began. Then I started adding coffee stains to it. You can see all these wonderful values of this kind of golden watercolor. Those are all coffee stains. Well, then, before I knew it, my fountain pen really wanted to get in there, and I started drawing this kind of like ominous, sketchy blackthorn tree in the background. Now, why specifically a blackthorn tree? Well, I was basing this on a bit of Celtic folklore, which is the legends of the Lunantisidhe, who are the Moon Faeries that dwell within the blackthorn tree. And while I'm here, I thought I would also feature a previous drawing I did of the blackthorn a few years ago, which first got me interested in the blackthorn-dwelling Lunantisidhe. So it's this kind of ominous fairy. They do not mind casting a curse on you if you get too close or if you harm their tree. And you can see there's that full moon there because the Moon Faeries, true to their name, go and visit the moon once a month when it is full. Why are they doing that? They're paying respect to Calliegh, who is the crone in the sky, the crone of winter. And when they go away from the tree, this is one of the best times to go and maybe take a piece of the tree. Now, why would you want to do that? It's already possibly going to curse you. Well, people have needs, important needs, like making a shillelagh. For those of you who don't know what that is an Irish walking stick that doubles as a club, a very hard, brutal weapon. You can find this in pop culture on the logo of the Boston Celtics. You'll see an Irishman, and then he's got this cane. It looks kind of like a wooden stick or something, but it's actually a shillelagh. So that's a little bit of background. And one of the great gifts of this piece, and I love when this happens, is I set out to just do a little sketch. And then I had this loose idea for a story. Well, then I started writing the story, and I had so much fun with this that I wanted to tell it to you. So, forget your woes, and let's learn tonight about the Lunantisidhe. The Moon Faerie, or the Lunantisidhe. The Moon Faerie. I swear I will grow a large lump on that Nigel's head for what he said to my Fiona. Sweet Fiona. How can men be so cruel? No matter. Ben meaning to make me another shillelagh. Knocking Nigel upside with it would be just the maiden voyage through the air to plant the seed of a bruise that would start its life off auspiciously, I reckon. A nice, dark, purple lump. Lord, please let it swell as large as a plum sticking out the side of his noggin. And also, Lord, may it sate my Avenger's appetite, not unlike a sweet plum on a hot summer's day. Right. Now to make me such a club and stick, there's only one place to get the wood for it. Unfortunately, that place is the Blackthorn Tree. And by unfortunately, I mean the Lunantisidhe. That's Gaelic for Moon Faerie. If you've ever lingered around the tangled blackthorn tree and for some unexplainable reason felt a rush of relief that you were at a safe distance from all of its explosions of spiked sticks in every direction, as though it were in a frozen, twisted version of angry ecstasy, it may be that you were feeling the whispered warnings of the Lunantisidhe. tiny fae that dwell within the Blackthorn, and are more than happy to spin curses on whoever cuts the tree in any way or so much as picks a slowberry during Samhain or Beltane. Now, when it is the full moon, the Lunantisidhe will be paying visits to Calliegh, the crone of winter in the night sky. And this be the best time for me to be paying a visit to the Blackthorn tree to make my shillelagh. Now, I could do it at daytime, but if you can get it on a full moon, it'll be stronger and bring you good luck. That shillelagh will. As I stated before, it's all in the timing. First, you study the tree the day before. Second, you procure the tools that you're going to use to cut the tree, i.e., axe, a saw. In my case, personally, my hatchet, that's for good luck. Thirdly, you hightail it to the Blackthorn tree fast as you can so that you can catch a glimpse of the last Lunantisidhe leaving to go up to the full moon. Fourth, now this is important now, you've got to make sure there are no more Lunantisidhe on the tree. And 5, you'll make a break for the Blackthorn tree. I'd waited the rest of the month. And do you think I calmed my feelings towards nihilistic Nigel, seeing him at the pub and trying to act nice so as he doesn't catch on? You're darn tootin' I was not coming down. My blood was hotter than mulled wine every time I laid eyes on that gobshite Nigel. So, when I made for the Blackthorn tree on this brightest of nights of the month, there was a feeling of self-expression, catharsis, gleeful deviance, yes. I believed so much that I was doing the Lord's work, defending my lady's honour, that arriving later than expected on account of my employment at the railroad going overtime that night was now the furthest thing from my mind. Just the delicious sound of my hatchet blade biting into that dark tree's armoured skin, and not a moment to lose. Although it was taking a little bit longer with the hatchet, I should have brought my axe. No matter. It was an evil excitement I felt in the air as I knelt down by the newly maimed tree. In one hand I had my happy hatchet, and in the other I picked up a freshly cut piece of the blackthorn out of the moonlit blades of grass. Ah, the makings of a new shillelagh. Satisfied with my new kill, it was time I got on the road. I was turning to leave when I heard what I thought was a whispered screech. I turned and saw her. I think it was her. You never know with the fairy folk. Must have been the first one back. One was quicker to get back to garden the tree than the other Lunantisidhe blasted all damn overachiever. And this little ghostly white thing was floating with all the mean hyperactivity of a glowing hornet. It was small and mad, iridescent like a tiny bad moon, and I could feel her growing venom. Thought I had them right fooled, I did. Now in an instant, they have me acting the maggot, so to speak. I stared at her for a second, unsure what to do. Then there was a silence. And then there was a hooting of an owl. And then the wind changed and I felt a chill. And then my whole body pulled me away hard to my left with the wind of my animal instinct. What the scientists might call a fight or flight occurrence. Yeah, and I was off and running through the wild moonlit night. Behind me I heard another of those dreaded whispered screeches of hers, though it sounded louder with a palpably irritated sneer. And then I think I heard some kind of melee, a little angry sounds as she seemed to be hurling curses in her, its strange fairy language. Whatever it was, I didn't try to decipher as I was too busy trying to understand the best escape route away from the thing as I hurled myself across the unforgiving hillside terrain. No, she gave chase, but at some point I stopped hearing the chattering sounds of that little angry Moon Faerie. Good place to stop, right? No, not a chance in the world. I ran until I was so exhausted that I wouldn't have minded dying and being cursed. And see, that is what you have to do. That is when my flight from the Blackthorn tree ended and I stopped and accepted my fate. Because, I was tired. But no fate seemed to greet me. I looked around, but there was no sign of the tiny creature. Relieved, I looked up at the moon, the vast night sky of Calliegh. I suddenly felt exposed in all that light, and I hastily hid the blackthorn in my coat. Triumph! I had been caught by the Lunantisidhe, and I had escaped, and I lived to make my shillelagh. Ha! Just wait until the boys hear this, after I grow that plum out of Nigel's mean skull. I eventually got home and began the process of sculpting my weapon. It was a fine piece. I counted about 3 places that it needs straightening. Just like the attitude on that snake of a Nigel needed. So I'm outside, heating my blackthorn. Fiona's calling me in for dinner. I say, soon, Fiona, soon I'll come in for dinner. And soon, Nigel, I'm coming for you. I had the stick good in season, not 2 days later. It glistened nice under that sealer, and it seemed made to reflect the moonlight with a menacing sheen, like a black snake with shimmering scales. Now a malicious merriment possessed me as I reached the pub of the Black Harp. Nigel's shoulder felt a tapping of my finger, and he turned around, seeing my mad look. I asked him if he'd repeat what he said about my Fiona to the rest of the public house. He said I could buy him a stout and forget about it, and he turned back around. Yeah, the blasted fiend. I turned him around right quick, but not before he broke his glass mug and made a shard weapon. I ducked his expected punch. As he reeled back his fist, I landed the rat of the Blackthorn right upon Nigel's skull, forcing him to lose his broken mug. But tie me up and feed me old feathers. The blasted club broke in 2. Let me repeat that. After just 1 hit, this brand new shillelagh, made from the rock-hard blackthorn, cracked into 2 little pieces. And before I could crack him with the piece I held, Nigel grabbed a jagged piece of shillelagh and managed to stab me in my arm with it. Ooh! Shrieked a circle of onlookers as they beheld the stabbing. As I moved to break up the fight, I lunged for Nigel and sailed my piece of broken shillelagh clear across his wide open face. There was a loud thud that silenced the bystanders as Nigel hit the floorboards unconscious. I hope you're dreaming of a million mean moon fairies, you damn bastoon, I hissed underneath my breath, wincing at the pain as a dynamite in my arm was exploded. Now, to his credit, Nigel, when he was good and recovered, a couple weeks later, never came to the Black Harp public house again. Ha! Oh! But damn it all, the arm has never recovered fully. Fiona tells me, at least you can lift and drink a pint with it, that should make you happy enough. And how do you know 'tis a message that you shouldn't be going around pecking fights, even in my honor, she says, with a kiss on my forehead. Or that I should go around chopping blackthorn wood, says I. What? She asks, with a single raised dark eyebrow. Or chopping blackthorn, I say, pointing to my bad arm. This is the arm what held the hatchet. Well, I hope you enjoyed story time. This again was Often Haunted. And now comes the point where I ask you that if you enjoyed this story in any way, please hit that like button, leave me a comment. These are the kinds of things that lets the algorithm know to go and find others who might like this, who might consider it a valuable use of their time. I think stories are important. I always try to put some little message which I invite you to muse over and maybe find for yourself. If you want to see more of that in the world, I invite you to like, comment, subscribe. I'm Saul, and I'll see you on the next one.